You may have seen this post circulating online showing a series of questions about what happens if a school district offers in-person learning and someone gets COVID-19 or is exposed to it. One of the questions posed, what if a teacher tests positive? Are they required to quarantine for 2 to 3 weeks? Well, according to the CDC guidelines, anyone should quarantine for 7 to 10 days after testing positive. The post also asks if an infected teacher's sick leave is covered and who pays for the test. According to Verdelia Turner, the president of the Georgia Federation of Teachers Union, each district should have a policy that addresses sick leave and time off, whether the illness is the coronavirus or something else. And public health officials say they plan to continue to offer free COVID-19 testing for the foreseeable future. Another question in the post, what if a teacher has 5 classes a day with 30 students each? Do all 150 of those students need to stay home and quarantine for 14 days? Turner says the school should still follow CDC guidelines, but it's important to note many districts are working to create classroom-like bubbles to prevent this type of spread. We don't know yet how districts will handle substitute teachers. The post also wants to know, what if a student in your kid's class tests positive? Do we all get notified about who's infected and when? 11 Alive medical correspondent Dr. Sujatha Reddy says schools will likely handle this the same way they deal with other outbreaks, for example, lice. A general letter is issued to parents in a particular class without revealing a student's identity. And finally, what happens if there's an outbreak once school starts? Turner says again, that too is up to the district. But Dr. Reddy says public health officials could step in if they believe a particular school is not handling an outbreak properly or call for the school to be temporarily closed for cleaning, like in previous cases of a norovirus.
And we know parents across Georgia have a lot of concerns about upcoming school year, so we're going to be sharing plans for several metro districts throughout the show.